Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with one more message of the Spirit of Truth. The book we are studying is titled The Spirit of Truth. It was written, published in 1961. Yes, 60 years ago, but the book is so current. Illuminated spirits come to you and I to teach us messages, recommendations, recipes for happiness. So here we come. Sympathy and goodness. Today is Emmanuel's turn. He brings to us in this new chapter we're going to study together. Let us recap. In the preface, a group of spirits wrote to us that they were writing this book in tribute to the Gospel According to Spiritism by Kardec. And they said that this book has messages to console, to give us new understanding. The first chapter, Dr. Bezerra de Menezes presents to us the Spiritist view on world problems. Then André Luiz comes to talk about excess in us. And then Dr. Bezerra de Menezes comes back to talk about the Spiritist motto, without charity, there is no salvation. And now, chapter 4, Emmanuel comes to us to teach us about two virtues that sprout in our hearts and may change our lives: sympathy and goodness. Let us study together. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are we ready? Yes? It's relying upon, and forgive me, but I'm going to open right here. It's in my computer. The Gospel According to Spiritism, because the message we're going to read from Emmanuel relies on the very passage of the Gospel According to Spiritism. And today it's chapter 9, okay? Chapter 9, item 7. Chapter 9, in just a second, I will read just the tiny part of the excerpt. Chapter 9 is here. It's a beautiful chapter. It talks about blessed are the meek and the peacemakers. It talks about affability, mildness. It's one of the most important virtues, patience. Item 7, chapter 9 is a message by the friendly spirit, whom Divaldo Franco says is Joana de Angelis, his spirit mentor. She says, pain is a blessing sent by God to all his elected. So when you suffer, do not allow yourself to become afflicted. Be patient, because this is also charity. Courage, my friends. Christ is your model. She goes on and on. It's a beautiful message of only 4 paragraphs. And based on that, Emmanuel comes to us and says, are you ready? Yeah? You are ready? Emmanuel. This is the portrait of Emmanuel. Beautiful. The heart golden. In the infinite plane of creation, we will never find anyone who will do without 2 natural derivatives of love: sympathy and goodness. The leafy and vigorous tree calls for the support of the sun. The solicitude of the wind conserves the tree and extends its vital properties. The animal, inferior in the scale of beings, requires the affection and tenderness of the soil, in order to maintain its functions and perfect its way of being the environment in which it develops. The child and the youth, the woman and the man, become sick and unhappy if they do not receive the warmth of goodness and sympathy by providential food to support balance and health, hope and peace that are indispensable to them in the effort of each day. Therefore, try to envelop your own manifestations before those around you with the resources of the sympathy that helps and understands, and the goodness that yields and forgives, expanding mercy in the world and strengthening the fraternity amongst all. Enrich your understanding with your understanding the affective asset of the companion. The companion will repay you with original and incessant assistance. Involve the unhappy and misfit soul in your fraternal generosity, and in it you will discover unforeseen nuances of love. Do not despise sympathy and goodness in the face of other struggles, and goodness and sympathy in others will bless you all your life. Emmanuel comes to tell us that what Bezerra de Menezes said, the Spiritist motto, is true. We need to trim our lives to prioritize the wellness of others. So, scale 0 to 10. Where do you think you are? 0 being, I'm not charitable. 10, I'm super charitable. Where do you think you are nowadays? Because he says, it's this feeling of sympathy. What is sympathy? People think it's about somebody dies, I express my sympathy. No, no, no. Go to the dictionary. We're going to see there is this feeling of sorrow for someone else's misfortune, which is important. And also the understanding of people's situation. So when we talk about sympathy, we're talking about this deep sense of understanding of how others are feeling. Not about empathy. That's another step. But we're talking about feeling that you understand what people. One thing is feeling what others are feeling. Another is feeling for them. Feeling sorrow for their unfortunate life. And you and I, where are we in that regard? Because nowadays, sometimes we may see people crying in front of us and we don't care. We see people who are in the streets asking for money, and we dare to say that they are faking it. To say the least, they are mentally ill. They must be suffering. Nobody who is happy and healthy will go on the streets begging for money in a cold weather. Oh, but they want drugs. But that's their problem, not ours. Not giving, counting that they are going to spend on drugs and alcohol is not charity. Feel, imagine if you were you. Can we imagine this? If we are in the street and we are counting on people's understanding, helping hand, and then people are insensitive. So sympathy here means feeling for others, understanding the sorrows and the pains of others, and goodness, being good, being kind. Emmanuel says that in nature will not survive a day without the goodness of nature. You and I are here. The food that we eat comes from the generosity of nature and the people who worked. And then we paid to receive this. But so many people worked very hard on it. He says it. The child and the youth, the woman and the man become sick and unhappy if they do not receive the warmth of goodness and sympathy by providential food to support balance and health, hope, and peace. So he says, try to envelop your manifestations in the sympathy that helps and understands. He says, let us help, let us understand, and be good, yielding, forgiving, expanding mercy in the world, and strengthening the fraternity amongst everyone. Enrich your understanding. I think this is probably the key to the whole article, to the whole chapter we're reading. Enrich your understanding with your understanding, the affective asset of the companion. Meaning, let us give of ours to the other ones, enriching others with our understanding. So that's a second assessment question. How is our understanding going by? Because usually in our own little culture, we're very ethnocentric. We think that the things our way are the best, the things in our life are best, and others, we're just, it's strange for us. Where is our understanding? So, to reach patience, we need understanding. So we say, breathe, breathe. Because in a hurry, we don't practice understanding. Some people ask me, how come nowadays? Nowadays, everybody's such in a hurry. And I would add, physically, our sympathetic system is so active under the stress mode alert that we don't have time to reason things, scenarios, relationships. So we need to boost the parasympathetic, which is the relaxation mode, to understand. Nobody has ever heard anybody in a hurry being patient. Usually we are impatient because we are in a hurry. We are under stress. Not because of it, but in that state. But to practice virtues like sympathy, we need our understanding, and our understanding works when our prefrontal cortex is open, active. Under stress, it's shut down. So we need to relax. That's why prayer works as well, because physiologically it may relaxes us. It may relax us. We need to ponder things from different angles out of stress. And he says, involve the ones who are suffering your generosity. Do not despise sympathy and goodness. So you may also be looked at with sympathy and goodness by others. Let us not forget. He ends by saying, law of action and reaction. You give, you receive. You don't give, you don't receive. It's about cultivation. So what we're going to do in the next 24 hours to practice Emmanuel's recommendations. Practicing relaxation, understanding, and then action. At least once in the next 24 hours, we're going to do the relaxation breathing. Deeply abdominal breathing, and then we're going to think of someone who needs to be forgiven in our lives, because we're talking about practicing virtues in the midst of necessity. Let us talk about somebody whom we need to forgive and say a prayer to that person and repeat 3 times, I forgive you yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I forgive you forever. I forgive you forever. I forgive you forever. Let us feel our hearts dissolving the crystallizations of feelings and liberating new energy, flowing much more easily, shall we, friends? Let us practice sympathy and goodness, starting where we need the most, forgiveness. Let us be inspired by Emmanuel and live a better life. Since we are coming across the Spirit of truth, we're setting ourselves free, because only truth, said Jesus, set us free. Thank you, friends. A big hug, and until tomorrow.